Some bartenders mix drinks, but these mix disasters, from clueless pours to full-blown meltdowns, and this owner right here has to be the worst.
Hey, back to you, listen, get us you ran the place around. Are you kidding me? Are they seriously fighting in the bar with customers?
Dale, 1891, a bar located on the bustling Dale-Mabry Highway in Tampa, Florida, seemed like it had the potential for success. The highway itself is named after a local hero, giving the bar's name an inherent connection to the area. But despite its local ties, this bar became infamous for its mismanagement and questionable practices. Owned by Howard Edelman and Gonen Manyuskin, who also operated a nearby cinema, Dale, 1891, was meant to be a successful addition to their business ventures. However, they handed over day-to-day operations to Howard's son Scott, who invested.
Howard gave Scott the opportunity to invest $80,000 for a stake in the business.
Yes, you heard that right, $80,000 of his own money. Unfortunately, Scott's inexperience, combined with a string of financial missteps, created a recipe for disaster. At the time John Taffer and the bar rescue team arrived, Dale, 1891, was losing $5,000 a month, a situation spiraling out of control. But what John uncovered next was even more shocking.
We were crowded at first, but it was short-lived.
From the moment John Taffer's spies entered Dale, 1891, it was evident that customers were being taken advantage of. One of the first red flags was how the bartenders made drinks. When the spies ordered a mojito, the bartender blatantly overpoured the alcohol. While some patrons might enjoy a heavier pour, this practice is a double-edged sword. On the surface, it might seem generous, but it's a direct hit to the bar's profitability.
Serious overpours right there.
But was overpouring just a mistake, or was there something more sinister at play? The food situation was even more alarming. Dale, 1891, had its own kitchen, but for some inexplicable reason, food orders were sent across the street to the owner's cinema. Patrons expecting a quick bite with their drinks were left waiting while staff ran back and forth between buildings to retrieve their meals.
By the time they get the food from the kitchen here to the bar there, it's not going to maintain quality.
Unbelievable.
This disjointed system not only frustrated customers, but also called into question where their money was going. Why was a bar with its own kitchen outsourcing food service? Was it to cut costs or to mask deeper issues with the kitchen staff and management? Either way, it left paying customers shortchanged and suspicious.
Hey, back to you, listen, get us you ran the place around. Are you kidding me? Are they seriously fighting in the bar with customers?
But this wasn't just bad management. John soon realized it was something far worse. As John Taffer delved deeper into the financial side of Dale, 1891, even more troubling issues came to light. Scott, who was in charge of the bar's finances, had no idea how to manage costs or properly track expenses. Worse, he was caught mixing his personal expenses with the business account, a clear sign of fraud.
There's no rent paid. That's $5,000 a month screwing us. Over $100,000.
And yet, this was only the tip of the iceberg. While Howard and Gonen owned the majority of the business, they were unaware of Scott's financial mismanagement. Bank statements revealed shocking details about personal spending, which was draining the bar's already limited resources.
Rental car, cafe, golf clubs.
Customers, who were unknowingly paying inflated prices to cover these expenses, became indirect victims of this financial chaos. Every dollar spent at Dale, 1891, was potentially funding Scott's personal lifestyle rather than improving the bar. What else had Scott been hiding from his father and business partners?
John, no, that's embezzlement. You can look at when you run personal expenses to a company and don't tell your partners. No, that's fraud, Scott.
Beyond the financial issues, the bar's operations were riddled with dysfunction. During the stress test, chaos ensued almost immediately. Bartenders broke glass into the ice bin, a health and safety hazard that could have endangered customers. Without proper systems in place, staff didn't know which tables to serve, leading to further delays and dissatisfaction among patrons.
They broke a glass in the ice bin as soon as we opened. Scott didn't even know it. Now he's back there digging out the ice bin. He's trying, but he's not watching.
But the worst revelation? Scott didn't even know what was on the menu.
Extra shrimp?
Love, I can't find this one.
No, this one either. There's no names on it.
Even the bar's theme was a mismatch. Named after a local hero, Dale 1891 had a tiki-themed interior that made no sense in the context of its branding. To make matters worse, a motorcycle was inexplicably placed in the middle of the room, adding to the confusion. Customers entering the bar were met with mixed signals, unsure of whether they were in a tropical paradise or a roadside dive. John had seen bars in bad shape before, but this one seemed beyond repair until he made a surprising discovery about Scott's motivations. John Taffer's arrival marked a turning point point, as he quickly identified the root causes of the bar's failures. He brought in expert BBQ chef Kevin Bludso and mixologist Daniel Ponsky to revamp the menu and train the staff. During the stress test, Scott's willingness to step up and improve earned him some praise. But it was clear that the bar's survival required a complete overhaul, not just in operations, but in management. However, John knew that training alone wouldn't save this bar. Howard and Gonan had to face a harsh truth. Scott's incompetence wasn't just harming the bar, it was sabotaging their entire business empire.
The sugar. You're talking about one of the most popular drinks in all of Florida, and you don't know how to do it? Yes, I can.
After much resistance, Scott finally handed over financial control, allowing John to move forward with the bar's transformation. But would it be enough to undo years of damage? The bar was renamed from Dale 1891 to Cayman Cove, with a new tropical theme that matched its identity. The interior was revamped with bright colors and cohesive decor, creating a welcoming atmosphere. The staff received thorough training, ensuring that service quality improved. For a brief period, things seemed to turn around. Sales reportedly increased by 20% after the relaunch, and customers initially responded positively to the changes. But not every rescue has a happy ending.
Your ego is your worst enemy.
Despite the promising start, Cayman Cove couldn't escape its troubled past. While the bar stuck with its new name and theme, it eventually closed in June 2019, a little over 3 years after appearing on Bar Rescue. By the time of its closure, the bar had a 2.5-star rating on Yelp, with reviews citing poor service and management issues. The negative feedback suggested that the bar's internal problems had resurfaced, once again affecting customers who expected better. But here's the real question. Could the owners have avoided this fate if they had taken John's advice to heart? In the end, Cayman Cove serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of accountability and customer trust. From overpouring drinks and misusing business funds, the bar's practices left patrons feeling scammed and undervalued. While John Taffer's intervention provided a temporary lifeline, the deeper issues within the ownership and management ultimately led to its downfall. And for the customers who unknowingly funded Scott's mismanagement, the scars of betrayal might linger longer than the bar itself. Anyway, moving on to an even bigger train wreck. When John Taffer and his crew arrived at Blue Frog 22 in Chicago, Illinois, they weren't just tackling a struggling bar, they were diving headfirst into a business riddled with mismanagement, questionable practices, and a reputation that left customers wary.
The bar's childish decor pushed locals and tourists to the trendier spots down the block.
In this episode of Bar Rescue, John Taffer tackles Blue Frog 22, a bar that should have been thriving thanks to its prime downtown location and spacious seating, but instead is plagued by mismanagement and deceit. Owned by Mimi and her son John, the bar initially saw success, but quickly became known for its unprofessional environment. From the moment John's wife Nicola visited undercover, the issues were clear. The decor was a mess, and the food was often served frozen in the middle.
Totally inedible, completely disgusting.
But it wasn't just the decor or the food. Behind the scenes, tensions were high between Mimi and John. Their constant clashes created a toxic atmosphere that trickled down to the staff, who were confused about who was in charge. To make matters worse, Mimi regularly drank at the bar during business hours, shrugging off any concerns about professionalism.
She's been drinking the entire time.
John soon discovered that customers were being scammed out of their money. With inconsistent food quality, overpriced drinks, and an unprofessional environment, patrons began to avoid Blue Frog 22. John wasted no time addressing these issues. He brought in interior designer Nancy Hadley to overhaul the decor.
Walking into that space was much worse than I expected, but it was like somebody blew up a toy chest all over a bar, and that is just not good. That just doesn't work for me.
The toys and childish decorations were replaced with a more sophisticated vibe. Chef Capon revamped the menu, and beer expert Jason Baldacci introduced a better beverage program. John also convinced Mimi to step back, allowing John to take over as general manager.
That when I walk into a ladies'
talking
room,
to you, not me.
can I talk to everybody for a moment? I'll come back to you. Just be professional.
John calls the staff together with one message: the toys have to go. The team begins stripping the walls, and the childish vibe starts disappearing piece by piece. To fix the bigger issues, John brings in Chef Capon for the food, and Jason Baldacci for the beer. Both waste no time getting to work, but not everyone is thrilled with the changes. John takes things further by promoting Mimi's son to general manager and asking Mimi to step back. Meanwhile, the kitchen gets a fresh start with locally sourced ingredients, and the bar gets upgraded tap handles.
Mimi is very defensive about this place. She doesn't like being told.
The kitchen manager, Jay, faces serious pressure to step up, leading John to pull him aside for a much-needed talk.
To be honest with you, I'm not even tasting that.
All right.
That just looks a little scary to me. You know, the one item that I actually didn't even taste.
Finally, the big reveal. Blue Frog 22 is gone, replaced by the local. The childishness is out, and a sleek, fresh identity takes over. But will the customers embrace it, or will the cracks start to show?
Bar staff has learned how to maximize their new local beers.
The bar was rebranded as The Local after the renovations, and things initially seemed to improve. Sales soared by 50%, and customers enjoyed the new look and menu. But cracks began to show when the bar kept its original name, blending Blue Frog with The Local 22. This hinted at a reluctance to fully embrace the chain. But here's what happens when the great American dream goes down the drain. In 2009, Bill Davis, a successful businessman with a vision of owning a family-run establishment, invested his entire lifetime savings into Kerry's Sports Bar in Nevada, a wildly popular yet costly venue priced at $4 million. Bill's dream was to create a thriving family business, so he brought in his daughter Kim and his children Justin and Lacey to help run the bar. However, in 2011, tragedy struck. Bill suffered a stroke that significantly impacted his health. Unable to oversee the business, Kerry's Sports Bar quickly began to spiral into chaos. Lacey opened up about her mother Kim's management style during an emotional conversation.
My mom has really good things about being a manager, but other parts are awful. She doesn't hold anybody accountable for anything. Melody overpours. I mean, they'll flat out steal the second that they think we're not watching them.
Meanwhile, Justin's behavior went downhill. He used the bar as a place to hook up with both customers and staff, spiraling further into reckless habits. Lacey's frustration with her brother reached a boiling point. Kim, on the other hand, took a more passive approach. Rather than overseeing operations, she allowed staff and her children to run wild, leading to an increasingly unruly team and mounting financial losses. Kerry's Sports Bar was hemorrhaging money, with Bill losing an alarming $5,000 a month. A once popular establishment was now on the brink of collapse, and the family was desperate. In a last-ditch effort to save their dream, they reached out to John Taffer for help. John Taffer arrived and began using secret cameras to monitor the chaos inside the bar. What he discovered shocked him to his core. Justin and his ex-girlfriend Jenna were taking a staggering 3 minutes to prepare basic cocktails like Bloody Marys and margaritas, something that should have been done in under a minute. Bill watched in horror as his daughter Kim stood by, failing to address the catastrophe unfolding before her. Taffer observed that Kim's overprotectiveness of her children, including her grandchildren, was a major contributing factor to the downfall. But this wasn't the worst of it.
It pisses me off because it's bull. I'm so tired for that.
Lacey broke down in tears, expressing her frustration with Justin's actions. The family's lack of control over their business was painfully evident, but things took a shocking turn during the next revelation.
Goes up to the cash register, rings up no sale, puts money in a drawer, counts out change, takes change out, gives it to the customers.
And what happened next was even worse than anyone could have imagined.
Money right in their pocket and walk away.
Taffer uncovered that both Justin and Lacey were stealing money from the business. The family had no idea that Lacey was part of the theft, and this revelation was nothing short of a betrayal. The theft was not limited to them. Even staff members like Melody, Justin's ex-girlfriend, were involved. When confronted, Justin's weak excuse for keeping Melody on staff was immediately shot down by Taffer.
Why is she here?
She's had a lot of hardship, and we've tried to really coddle her.
Taffer then turned his attention to Kim, confronting her about her failure to lead. Kim's breakdown was heartbreaking.
One more chance?
This wasn't just about poor management anymore. It was about something far darker.
We all need to be fired, honestly.
I'm disgusted. I want to vomit, and I want to vomit on you guys.
Taffer discovered the staggering amount of money Melody had stolen, and Lacey's reaction was one of pure rage. Taffer made it crystal clear that this kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated in his establishment. In a decisive moment, Taffer forced Kim to fire Melody despite her tearful pleas. The message was clear. Theft would not be allowed under any circumstances. But it didn't end there. Jenna also had to leave the bar, a painful but necessary decision. With the toxic elements gone, Taffer focused on transforming the remaining staff. He quickly realized they lacked the skills to provide decent service, so he began training them from scratch. However, Taffer knew that the bar's reputation was beyond repair without a fresh start. That's when he suggested a complete rebranding, a new name for the bar, the Beacon Bar Bloodies.
This is badass, dude.
This new name symbolized hope, a fresh beginning, and a beacon of light for the troubled business. A revamped menu, new service standards, and a more professional atmosphere followed. As Taffer's changes began to take root, customers returned, and the business began to show signs of life once again. Bill's original vision for a successful family-run bar was finally on track, but there was one final question lingering. Could the family truly put their past mistakes behind them? In the end, Taffer's intervention saved Kerry's Sports Bar from total collapse, but it wasn't without its scars. The Davis family learned valuable lessons about accountability and leadership, and the Beacon Bar Bloodies became a symbol of redemption. However, the question remains: Could the family maintain this newfound success, or was it only a matter of time before the cracks began to show again? But there's nothing that can compare to what happened when John Taffer tackled the monumental challenge of transforming the End Zone Sports Bar and Grill in Houston, Texas. Owned by Justin Whitfield, a former stripper and bodybuilder, the bar quickly spiraled into chaos after a promising start.
It's a lot of fun, but you can't rely on your looks forever. And opportunity knocked at my door. I was able to get into this bar relatively cheap.
When the End Zone first opened in 2005, it became a hotspot, raking in $100,000 in monthly revenue. But as demand grew, Justin brought in his close friend Sean, a fellow former stripper and MMA fighter, to help manage the bar. Their partnership turned disastrous.
When he needed money, I sold my truck because we were so close.
The two had conflicting visions for the bar, leading to constant tension. Justin's leniency toward bartenders drinking on the job only worsened their relationship, and the atmosphere became toxic. The bar, once thriving, sank into $200,000 of debt.
Do some work.
I feel Sean thinks this is more about a popularity contest than it is about running the bar.
With the business crumbling, Justin called John Taffer and the bar rescue team to save the failing bar.
Yeah, okay?
John was struck by the bar's prime location in the heart of Houston, but was horrified by its appearance. The exterior blended in with the mall, making it nearly impossible to notice. John knew the situation inside was even worse.
It doesn't pull your eye.
It could just be a store, a shop, retail. I have no idea that that's a bar.
First of all, there's no design, there's no theme, there's nothing. Got a draft beer system that's hidden.
John sent undercover spies to observe the bar. What they found was shocking. Poorly made drinks, unsanitary food, and a dangerous kitchen operation. Kevin, the cook, was cross-contaminating ingredients, risking customers' health.
This doesn't taste good.
That's not good.
Sour.
Stop.
Cursing in front of customers.
Nobody can sit here.
Kiana, a bartender, was drinking on the job and using foul language in front of customers, creating a hostile environment. The bar was filthy, sticky floors, unclean equipment, and an unprofessional atmosphere. Things took a bizarre turn when Justin and male strippers began performing in the middle of the bar. This alienated customers who came for a sports bar experience, leaving them baffled and disgusted.
The main stage.
At a sports bar?
It's a strip club now. Look at this.
The drama escalated when a fight broke out between bartender Taylor and Sean's wife Stephanie, leading to an altercation between the two owners.
Get out of my face. You don't even know me, bitch. I don't care. I swear to God.
The bar's internal issues were affecting every aspect of the business. John skipped his usual intervention on the first night, choosing to confront the staff the next day. The tension was thick, with each person offering a different version of events. The ownership was unclear. Sean claimed to own 15%, but no legal documentation supported this. John focused on fixing relationships. He arranged legal papers for Sean's interests, then turned his attention to the bar's many issues. Health code violations were rampant. A filthy kitchen, contaminated chicken wings, and overflowing grease traps were all hazards. The bar was operating under false pretenses, endangering customers.
Look at this oil. That looks like 90 weight oil from an engine. If I put a flash bulb on the other side of this, you wouldn't see it. Do you understand the fire hazard that this is?
John and his experts, Chef Vic Vegas and mixologist Kate Gerwin, worked to fix the kitchen and bar. A stress test showed the staff's inability to handle pressure, slow bartenders, burned food, and 18-minute wait times. John called it off, but offered hope to Sean and Kevin.
She's begging for a drink over there. Look at her and smile. Let her know you're coming. Thank you.
2 hands.
Who still doesn't have drinks?
Stressed out.
The next day, Sean and Kevin put aside their differences, apologizing for the bar's sake. With ownership sorted, John pushed them into focused training, teaching them signature cocktails and sports bar dishes. John's team then launched a 36-hour renovation, sparing no expense. The bar was rebranded as Houston Sports Hub, featuring sleek decor and top-notch equipment.
Brand.
The relaunch was a success, making $2,200 in just 1 hour, and sales increased by 30% in 2 months, with 100 new customers weekly. However, the success was short-lived. By 2020, the End Zone was sold, and Sean had left the business. Reviews for Houston Sports Hub turned negative, with complaints about poor service and a foul sewage smell.
Oh my gosh.
You've got to be kidding me.
The bar was eventually replaced by Players Sports Lounge, which received better reviews. Despite John's efforts. The End Zone's failure serves as a cautionary tale of how bad management, internal strife, and deceit can destroy a once thriving business. But here comes another insane episode when John Taffer visited the Brixton, a struggling punk rock bar on Austin 6th Street.
Get out. I don't go to your bar and act like There's a nice middle finger right there.
Owned by Tim and Sarah Lupa, the bar faces mounting debt, a strained marriage, and a dwindling customer base. Tim's poor attitude toward college students and younger patrons undermines their focus on customer service. Desperate to save their business and home, the couple turns to John Taffer for help.
I used to drink here as a customer, had many good times at this bar.
John, accompanied by his expert mixologist Peter O'Connor, wasted no time pinpointing key issues. First, they noticed the bar's unwelcoming and unattractive exterior. The facade of the bar was completely unappealing, failing to attract the attention of potential customers.
We haven't really changed anything about it, just because I thought I could come in and be sweet to people.
Despite Tim's background in marketing at a Fortune 500 company, he had little to no customer interaction skills. His personality was lacking charm, and it was evident that his attitude was the biggest thing driving customers away. He failed to understand that a customer-facing business requires more than just service, it requires connection. John decided to send in his friend Clay and 2 others to go undercover. Upon entering the bar, they found it nearly empty. The patio area was uninviting, and the decor lacked personality. After ordering cocktails, Clay received an abysmal Moscow Mule and Gin Martini. When they attempted to return the drinks, Tim's response was nothing short of rude and dismissive.
He grabbed some Chinday lime juice and threw it in there. It was the nastiest, sourest drink I've ever had in my life.
The couple's approach was clearly not working, and the situation was dire.
Inside voices, please.
As tensions continued to rise, Sarah took over, and surprisingly, the drinks improved under her care. But instead of showing appreciation, Tim lashed out at her for stepping in. This only highlighted the growing rift between them.
You know why? Because I didn't touch the bottle, probably.
John confronted Tim about his lack of cocktail knowledge and his abrasive attitude. Sitting down with both Tim and Sarah, John pointed out the gravity of their situation. They were on the brink of losing everything, with Sarah revealing that their marriage was crumbling under the pressure. John emphasized that their decision to purchase the failing bar without any substantial changes was a huge mistake. Now, they were at risk of losing not just their business, but their personal lives as well.
It's your attitude. Do you understand that?
The following day, John gathered the staff to gain a better understanding of the bar's operation. To his surprise, none of the staff knew the meaning behind the name The Brixton, and Tim couldn't even explain the type of bar they were trying to run. The staff revealed that Tim frequently kicked out paying customers and constantly argued with Sarah, creating a tense and hostile atmosphere. Sarah, clearly overwhelmed, broke down and admitted that they were $100,000 in debt and could only keep the bar open for another 3 months.
It's just a bar.
That's about as ineffectual as you could possibly be.
Peter O'Connor then assessed the bartender's skill. Tira and Alyssa stood out, demonstrating proficiency in making classic cocktails like Old Fashions and Long Island iced teas. However, Tim continued to be a liability. His lack of effort and poor attitude irritated Peter, who was visibly frustrated. Tim's behavior was a constant obstacle, preventing the bar from reaching its potential.
Tim, that's annoying.
The real breaking point came during the stress test. Sarah was put in charge of managing the bar, and the tension between her and Tim boiled over. Tim's inability to keep it together led to him driving away customers once again. The stress test ended up being a total failure. Despite Sarah stepping in to manage the bar with Tira and Alyssa, the chaos continued. The night highlighted that Tim and Sarah working together was a hindrance, not a help. Their dysfunctional relationship was proving to be their biggest obstacle.
Who's getting mules? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
After the disastrous test, John and Peter planned to rebrand the Brixton by focusing on signature infusion drinks to stand out. With no kitchen and limited event space, Peter trained staff to craft unique vodka and beer cocktails, aiming to create 3 specialty drinks for the new menu. However, Tim's resistance to change remained a major hurdle, forcing John to push him to embrace the rebranding.
You told me, Saf, if the Brixton fails, your marriage probably fails.
In a dramatic moment, Tim even painted a middle finger on the wall during the signage change. His tantrums seemed endless, but Sarah managed to convince him that the changes were essential for their future success. The pressure was mounting, and Tim was finally swayed by the realization that this could be their last chance.
You told me, Saf, if the Brixton fails, your marriage probably fails.
To build buzz for the relaunch, John sent Tim to a local radio station and enlisted sculptor Tommy Gregory to create an eye-catching rocket sculpture for the exterior. Highlighting Austin's growth, John emphasized the business potential. The bar was renamed Rocket Room 6, featuring modern decor, a frost rail, an upgraded patio, and a tablet system linked to a food truck to handle the food issue. It was one of Bar Rescue's most dramatic transformations. During the relaunch, customers loved the sleek look and new drinks. While there were some delays with service, the overall atmosphere improved. Even Tim stepped up, engaging with customers and creating a much more welcoming vibe.
Roman Leo Construction did all of this inside and out, 36 hours, Austin Company.
Despite the rebranding to Rocket Room 6, Tim and Sarah couldn't fully let go of the Brixton. 6 weeks after John Taffer's rescue, sales rose by 17%, and the couple was expecting their first child. But in March 20th, 20, they sold their share to co-founder Van Akens, and the Brixton closed. The bar received positive Yelp reviews in its final months. John's intervention saved their business and strengthened their relationship, enabling them to open a second location. But the question remains, was their success temporary, or did Taffer's changes secure their future? Only time would tell. These are the worst bartender moments on Bar Rescue. But here comes a bartender who single-handedly destroyed the business. The Brixton was a punk bar sitting in a prime spot on 6th Street, right in the heart of a trendy hipster area. It was on the brink of closure when Tim and Sarah Lupa, a couple with a vision, decided to step in and save it from shutting down. Tim's wife thought she had it all figured out, leave the bar exactly as it was, flash a smile, and let her charm do the heavy lifting to bring in customers. But Tim? Oh, he had other plans, and let's just say they weren't exactly winning strategies.
I don't like frat boys, tourists, college students. What's up,
So here's the thing, Tim didn't like anyone, at all. And in Tim's head, the bar wasn't a cocktail lounge, a mixology spot, a club, or even a sports bar. Nope, it wasn't any of the stuff customers usually look for. What it actually was, according to him, was a place for people to come in and get degraded. Seriously. And once you hear what Tim thought about his own bar, it'll all make sense why the place was crashing and burning.
What do you want? We are not the kind of bar that begs for business.
Tim's aggressive attitude had turned their no begging for business mantra into something far worse. They were now teetering on the edge of begging just to survive. But the bar wasn't the only thing crumbling under Tim's toxic demeanor. Enter Sarah, Tim's wife, and let's just say their relationship wasn't doing much better. In fact, it was hanging by a thread. Barely.
Anytime there's a customer that's annoying you,
No.
you know what?
No, it's too late.
You.
When John pulled up to the Brixton, the first thing he noticed was that the place should be a gold mine. The area had a high volume of bar traffic, and Tim himself had worked in marketing for a Fortune 500 company. So why was the bar failing? Here's where it gets interesting. John showed his expert the content Tim posted on the bar's page, and trust me, it'll leave you absolutely stunned in disbelief.
Sorry we had to close early. Was full.
If it were any other bar and the manager had pulled this move, the owner wouldn't think twice before firing him. But here's the kicker. The owner himself was behind the mess, acting like he didn't want his bar to succeed or even make a profit. John dug deeper and read a review online, and what they uncovered was truly baffling.
Went in the back room with a female manager. I think they were married and argued for about 40 minutes while no one was behind the bar to get us a drink.
The disregard for customers was absolutely unreal. John had his recon team go inside the bar, and when they asked for the bartender's recommendation, just like any regular customer would at a decent bar, the answer they got completely shook John.
My favorite is the mule because it's easy to make.
And get this, he even tried to defend himself for not knowing how to make the other drinks, claiming that the customers in that part of town only ever wanted shots or beers. Like, seriously? That can't be true at all. And after all of that, the one drink he actually made turned out to be an absolute disaster. But what was truly unbelievable was his reaction to the feedback the recon gave.
That's some pretty sour.
Whatever, you know.
A guy like that just sucks the energy from the room. He never adds to it.
But the recons gave him one more chance to redeem himself and ordered a martini, which he made in a shaker so they could see how it was gonna be. But when the recons expressed their dislike, he didn't just shrug it off this time. He took it even a step further, and his next move just left everyone speechless.
You ordered it.
There's no way to talk to customers.
What does taste right?
Now wait, I really couldn't hear what he was actually saying with all that loud voice, kind of interrupting everything, but hey, it's a bar, right? People are here to have fun. But Tim? Oh, he decided to go full high school teacher on them, and his behavior towards the other customers, let's just say it got awkward real fast.
Inside voices, please.
Look at this guy.
Chill out or get out.
Come on! Those were the only 4 customers that had come in that night, besides John's recons, and he screamed them away. And get this, he didn't even care when they left. But then, Tim's wife, Sarah, seeing all of this, decided to take matters into her own hands. She took back the drinks Tim had served, remade them for the recons, and guess what? They actually liked them. But instead of feeling relieved, how Tim reacted next? Well, you won't believe it.
Did we make those right?
It's actually really good.
You know why? because I didn't touch the bottle, probably.
It was crystal clear. Tim could not stand the fact that his wife stepped in and was doing a better job than him. I mean, talk about the male ego. He cared more about being the alpha than actually making money. John had seen enough and decided it was time to step in. He didn't beat around the bush. Tim had no clue how to make any drink on his own menu, but what Tim said next made it obvious he was completely out of his depth.
For a year?
I know how to make them. Just because it's not exactly to their taste doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong.
Now, there was one more glaring issue John couldn't ignore. Tim's attitude with the customers was absolutely unbelievable. So when John tried to talk to him about not treating customers like they were 5 years old, Tim crossed yet another line. His passive-aggressive nature was on full blast, and it was impossible to miss.
Use your inside voice.
Are you gonna use your inside voice? You're bumming me out, man.
Good, I want to.
Tim finally decided to shut up and listen, but trust me, that was nothing compared to what this next guy did. He attacked John Taffer. Yeah, I'm not even exaggerating here. And the craziest part, he was the owner of Mac and Chester's SRO. You won't believe how this all went down.
Usually start all the nonsense.
Mate, you're a f***ing idiot.
Really?
Yes, because you're loves you.
At first, the bar was thriving, but Scott quickly realized he had bitten off more than he could chew by teaming up with Todd, who always had a drink in his hand. Whether he was buying rounds for the customers or getting drinks bought for him, Todd's tab was always running high. And it wasn't just a one-time thing, it was the same mess every single day. You're not ready for this roller coaster, so buckle up and take a seat.
Usually start all the nonsense.
The result? People started boycotting the bar because Todd was drinking all day and his biker friends were taking over the whole place. It didn't just hurt the business, it also put a huge strain on Todd's relationship with his wife, who used to be a loving couple in ways you wouldn't believe. The once solid foundation of their marriage was cracking, and it was all spiraling out of control.
Work my ass off all night. You drink and you tell me to stop?
You know what? Shut the up.
John called Todd's wife into his RV to show her exactly what was going on behind her back. When Todd and his biker friends stepped outside to have fun, things went from bad to disastrous in the blink of an eye. You won't believe how quickly it all spiraled, and the shocking twist that followed was enough to make your jaw drop.
Hands up! Your husband is smiling.
Yeah, Todd was literally burning his own property, his own bar. That's a first in bar rescue history. Meanwhile, Scott just stood there, watching his business go up in flames, literally. And as if setting a table on fire wasn't enough, Todd decided to take it even further. What happened next? You'd better take a step back because you are not ready for this wild turn of events.
Do a burnout on the table.
Do it! Do it!
Todd was doing the perfect job of driving customers away, and he was playing his part flawlessly. Meanwhile, his wife Elise was breaking down in tears in front of him while Todd was outside acting like a child. That's when John decided it was time for a confrontation. He told Todd he had seen everything unfold and how it was tearing Elise apart. But Todd's reaction? So disrespectful, it pushed John over the edge. It was the breaking point.
Todd, you're smiling.
No, I'm not.
New attitude.
No.
John tried to show Todd the harsh reality. He was losing around $6,000 a month, and he had kids to support. Even burning that table wasn't just a blow to the business, it was a hit to his whole family's future. John was hoping Todd would finally come to his senses, but Todd's next move, it only made everything so much worse.
John! Shut up and listen to me.
No, you listen to me. Your family.
Nope, John wasn't backing down now. Todd had no more chances to talk. This was his time to shut up and listen. But did he? You'd be seriously naive to think he did. Instead, what Todd did next was so wild, it became one of the most audacious moves ever recorded in bar rescue history.
Mate, you're a f***ing idiot.
Really?
Yes, because you're loves you. Stand with me.
Did Todd just attack John? Oh, it was over now. John had had enough. He got up, walked out, and made it clear he wasn't going to take Todd's nonsense any longer. Todd had become the catalyst for the bar's failure, and he proved it that night. Drunk, unreasonable, violent, and acting like a total fool, Todd's antics had officially crossed the line. But moving on to a bar owner who was so disrespectful to the customers and bar staff that the bartender themselves pushed him out of the bar.
No.
No, let me just finish that.
Finish that, and this is
Just
over.
give it to me.
Yeah, I'm talking about the owner of Summit House Grill and Tap, Josh Lubliner. Josh was so neurotic, he'd flip out at the smallest change in pace. He just couldn't handle it. His go-to coping mechanism, drinking down the entire bar. All he ended up doing was making a total fool of himself and dragging the bar down with him. As for the staff, well, they just followed his chaotic lead, matching his madness step for step.
All of that, but if my boss is drinking, I'm drinking. I might as well have a good time while I'm here.
But there was one bartender who actually wanted to do some real work, not just mess around. The result? She was left picking up the pieces for everyone, even for Josh, the owner. While everyone else was caught up in the chaos, she was the one holding things together, doing all the heavy lifting. And it was starting to get ugly.
Having to babysit your owner, passed out on the bar top or laying on the patio floor, drunk.
But drinking wasn't Josh's only problem. His self-esteem was so low, he took it out on the staff, tearing them down whenever he could. He finally crossed every line the day John showed up at the bar. John had sent in 2 women for recon, and as soon as they walked in, Josh's attacks started almost immediately. You will see clearly how he had no filter and no regard for who he was hurting.
Yeah, sort of gassed by the lines by your eyes.
He should have been thanking his lucky stars that the woman didn't slap him. She was absolutely shocked. Was the bar owner, the one supposed to be responsible for hospitality, really saying this? And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. The rude comments kept coming, and the next one, you won't believe it. It'll leave you speechless.
I need a lime.
You need a lime?
Yeah.
Do you need like a diaper as well, or just yeah.
Josh's wife, who was sitting with John, was absolutely flabbergasted. Here was the man on the verge of losing his life savings and his house because of this bar, and he was completely hammered, driving away the few customers brave enough to walk through the door. The bar staff? They'd had enough. Finally, one of the bartenders, Travis, spoke up, hoping to set things straight. But the result? It was even worse than anyone expected.
You're acting like a straight idiot. You're acting like you normally act, which yeah, okay, I'm working.
Yep, Josh completely lost it. The other bartenders saw how out of control he was and decided it was time to step up. One of them flat out told him to leave, saying they wouldn't serve him any more drinks. But Josh, acting like a spoiled child, started booing and throwing a tantrum. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, things escalated fast.
Dude, stop.
Are we done? Can we chill out now?
At least Travis cut him off.
Did he just throw hands with a girl? His own bartender, no less? It was a miracle they still worked there. Customers were as baffled as you probably are right now. John had seen enough, but he sent in Josh's wife first. She had believed Josh was working hard to make the bar profitable, but this confrontation was anything but expected.
If you would stop cursing in front of customers.
Hey, guess what? If you came in here and actually worked a little bit.
No.
Can you believe it? Josh just turned around and blamed everything on his wife, Alexia. But Alexia wasn't having it. She grabbed his beer glass, looked him dead in the eye, and gave him an ultimatum. Either recommit to the business and his family, or lose both. But don't expect a sudden change of heart, because you won't believe how Josh responded. It was insane.
No.
Let me just finish that.
Finish that, and this is
Just
over.
give it to me.
John couldn't take it anymore. In a move that was both shocking and completely justified, he snatched the glass from Josh and poured it right on him. The whole room let out a collective sigh of relief. Bartenders, the recon team, even his wife. Finally, someone was standing up to him, but blaming his failures on his wife? Unreal. That crossed a line no one could ignore. John tried to reason with him, but Josh was so far gone that John had no choice but to walk out. Before leaving, he told Josh to sober up and sleep at the bar, making it clear he had no right to go home in that state. But as soon as John was gone, Josh was right back at it, continuing his chaos without missing a beat.
Gotta go. No, go.
What the dude? Pushing me?
Get the out of here. No, go.
The bartenders had enough. They stopped talking and took action, leading to an unexpected twist.
Seriously. You.
A bar owner getting kicked out by his own employees? That was a first in bar rescue history. But Josh didn't go quietly. Oh no, he fought back, actually pushing at them. The customers? They were absolutely stunned, watching this whole mess unfold like something out of a nightmare.
Stop it. Calm down. Calm down, or I'm gonna take you down.
Finally, they managed to shove him out of the bar. Embarrassing, but absolutely necessary. And Josh? No remorse? He just asked if someone could get him a beer and a ride home. But then, we encountered an even bigger douche of an owner. One so ungrateful that he didn't hesitate to declare that he'd rip everything back to how it was if he didn't like John's transformation. The daredevil in question, David, the owner of Blacklight District Rock and Roll Lounge.
I'm gonna keep it punk rock, dude. If it's not punk rock, then fly home, dude. Get the out of our bar. Have a good plane ride home.
Enjoy your losses.
Welcome to the West Coast.
David actually didn't even qualify properly. It was like David opened this bar just so his band could have a hangout spot and live in their own little entertainment bubble. The bar itself? A complete train wreck. Leaking pipes, trashed furniture, and the whole place looked like it had been abandoned for years. Total disaster vibes. But his behavior towards the customers, and even his own bartender? Oh, totally out of line. You're not going to believe how far he took it.
We're gonna buy him a set of teeth.
This guy's a dick. Yes.
Val, she's our favorite lesbian, though.
And get this, a customer left a 1-star review, not for the food or drinks, which, believe me, weren't great, but that wasn't even the main issue. She had a much bigger reason. David had been sending her harassing messages. His response? Oh, you're not ready for this one.
You and your hipster friends shouldn't be here to begin with. It's a punk rock dive bar, you crybaby. What?
Unbelievable, right? Joe tried to spell it out for him, breaking down just how bad things had gotten. The bar was drowning in debt, but all David cared about was his music. It was like talking to a brick wall, he just wasn't getting it. And instead of even pretending to listen, guess what came out of his mouth next? You won't believe it.
Yeah, this is why we kind of challenged you. We didn't think you were able to meet the challenge of a punk rock scene.
Yup, he actually tried to challenge John Taffer himself, because obviously everything else in the bar was just flawless, right? Hilarious. Even John's punk rock expert Joe Escalante had to step in, saying, there's not one punk bar that can stay full 365 days a year just playing punk rock. But David? Oh, he was living in his fantasy world. As a business plan, completely doomed. And what does David say next? You're gonna think I'm making this up. Just watch.
You can't flounder in here in a sweater and just say I'm punk rock. It doesn't work like that.
Man, David wasn't just a terrible bar owner, he was the definition of ungrateful. Joe isn't just some random punk artist, he's a full-on legend in the scene. And what does David do? Instead of listening to the guy who knows exactly what he's talking about, he straight up brushes him off like it's nothing. Ridiculous, right? But hold up, David doesn't stop there. Oh no, he takes it even further.
You guys flew in on the wrong plane. We don't want you here anyways. This is not an emo bar or a house music bar.
This pushed John over the edge. David was so fixated on his music so bad it chased away what little business he had left, that he refused to see the bigger picture. The idea of making real money from it? A complete delusion. John's frustration hit its peak as he gave David an ultimatum. Focus on running a successful bar or stay lost in his punk dream. And when David finally responded, it was like he hadn't heard a single word. Unbelievable.
Honestly, I'll shut it down knowing that we did the punk rock thing other than selling out the punk rock scene.
David flat out refused to back down. He was adamant about keeping the bar strictly punk rock, and if John couldn't get on board with that, he made it clear John could pack up, book a flight, or just get out. Well, John wasn't about to stick around and take that level of disrespect. He grabbed his experts and walked right out without a second thought. I mean, what do you expect when an owner behaves like this?
I'm gonna keep it punk rock, dude. If it's not punk rock, then fly home, dude. Get the out of our bar.
Now things were getting serious. John, his experts, and David's last chance to save the bar had just walked out the door. You'd think that would be enough to wake him up, maybe get him to rethink things, or even try to make amends, but nope. Instead, David doubled down, and just when you thought he couldn't be more out of touch, he actually said this. Trust me, you need to see this.
It's not gonna happen. We're not gonna sell out being a East Coast kook bar. We're gonna keep it a punk rock bar. We're gonna run in ground.
Even the bartenders could see the disaster David was headed for and tried to talk some sense into him, telling him he absolutely needed John back, or the bar wouldn't survive another month. After a moment of thought, David finally agreed to do whatever John wanted. But wait, doesn't that feel a little off? A complete change of heart in just a few minutes? Something wasn't adding up. And what he said once everyone had left? Oh, that's when everything became crystal clear.
If it doesn't turn into a music venue, we're gonna turn that schmuck pug right back into this bar. We go down punk rock.
Now wait, did he really just say that? And how stupid that was, because John is not someone who gets played that easily. He knew exactly what was going on. And when John confronted him, David's face was one to look at.
You think I didn't hear what you just said inside there, Dave? I have cameras and microphones rigged all over your bar.
David was completely busted, and John wasn't pulling any punches. He made it crystal clear. The only way to save that disaster of a bar was to tear it all down and rebuild from the ground up. No shortcuts, no half measures. This was going to be a full-on overhaul.